This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 20th of November 2019, and I am 2M.
I am DM.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Star, 10 big names join WACO on US travel ban.
Yeah.
In the Standard, who's next? And in the Daily Nation, new schools shake up the old order.
Yeah.
So, I think we could take the Star and the Standard together.
Yes, absolutely.
Regarding Amos Wako and the recent travel ban.
Yes.
The announcement that came from the Secretary of State of the United States himself.
Yes.
Mike Pompeo.
Yes.
Signed
Saying
off
that
on a
Wako
letter.
cannot come to the promised land.
Can you
Precisely.
imagine? Yes. I have a bone to pick with these Americans.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like that name, Pompeo. Pompeo is a fantastic name.
I know.
But that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Look, I want to read something he said.
Yeah.
In the statement, he said, "This action sends a strong signal that the United States is a valuable partner in Kenya's fight against corruption." And I woke up and I said, this is total rubbish. And it's total rubbish because one of the greatest violators of peace and security and human rights are the Americans themselves. You see, that statement called valuable partner, it's a valuable partner, it's actually valuable colonizer because we have guys called DCA and DPP who have gone to take names of corrupt people to America.
Yeah.
Now, under what circumstances would you want to go and take? Are they your masters? Are they your bosses? They could have gone to the embassy of Bangladesh. They could have gone to the embassy of Pakistan or for Rwanda. Why are they going to the Americans?
No, but because the Americans are the biggest military in the world and they have
As you said yesterday,
serious clout.
guns equals power.
Absolutely.
No problem with that. Look, we have a PMC contractor in this country that the government of Kenya has allowed to actually purchase an airline. All right? Now, that PMC guy has actually been accused of human rights violations in Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay? His own sister serves in the cabinet of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
If that is the case, right? Why are they overlooking themselves, right? People who have committed violations against human rights and telling us that, oh, you Africans, you Kenyan Africans have a blemish and it's called corruption, and we will stop you. They have the right of admission.
Well, as Jem is saying, America has and perhaps will be for a long time the world's moral police.
Yeah.
And
the standards they used to judge us are
different from what they used to judge themselves. That is a fact of life, a reality that we have to deal with. My only question is, why now? Why are people being retrospectively persecuted?
That's a very good question.
Or whatever, for things that they did in the 90s. So you're saying it is because the DPP and the DCI were gallivanting, took a pilgrimage around the world.
Yeah, they did a few months ago. I think the DPP was in the US, and I'm sure these are the meetings that he was having. These are the requests that he made of the US government to help in the war against graft. But as you're asking, I don't understand why now. Like, why go back into the past with Amos Wako? But I also read some political motive into it. On the part of the government. This creates a welcome distraction, in terms of creating a political buzz that takes us away from all the negative pessimism that has been directed towards the president and the Jubilee government.
Let me tell you.
Months.
So you're saying this is a smokescreen?
Well, it's a diversion. It could be a diversion, and if it is, it's a good one. Keep at it.
Maybe it's a precursor to something happening, because this is not the first time. Amos Wako received a travel ban in 2009. And it is out of a cable sent by former US ambassador to Kenya. It's called Ranneberger. Now Ranneberger is doing some things for the South Sudanese. He's just been paid a hefty sum of money to take advantage of our economy. But anyway, that's okay. But in my view,
it is alleged that he has.
It is known. Even they have acknowledged they've gotten $3.7 million to make South Sudan look nice in Washington.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is the second time, and then he was forgiven, born again, and then now he's...
Yes, and that to me raises questions.
Yeah.
I have a strange feeling that this could be a ploy targeted at someone. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll wait to see how this story unfolds in the coming days and weeks, because as the Star is telling us, there's 10 other big names, and as the Standard is asking, who's next? So big things are coming.
Yes.
In the meantime, I think maybe we toss the Star.
What's our criteria for tossing?
Yes. The criteria. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 3-part criteria.
Yeah.
Is the headline topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
I really like the Standard headline. I think it's very punchy. Yeah. Who's next? I want to read it. I want to find out who's next, even if they're not telling us.
Absolutely.
Do you think the same?
The
Star?
So I think we toss the Star.
Pales in comparison.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
and we take the Nation.
The Daily Nation has taken us back to the KCP story. And the headline is New Schools Shake Up the Old Order. So they have a list of schools that weren't on the top, I think 10 of last year, and they have now emerged as schools that are doing very well. The story is also telling us about some candidates and their remarks. It's a continuation from last week.
Yes.
Or rather from yesterday.
Yes.
But the question I keep having, because we do really celebrate the students and the examination results, I still have hang-ups about this, giving children the standardized tests and them being such a big deal. And I'm asking myself, you know, congratulations to the ones who have 450, 400, 300. What about the one who gets 200? What happens to her?
What about the one who gets 170 and commits suicide? As happened in
a 14-year-old boy did commit suicide after he got dismal results, you know? This is fishes being judged by their ability to climb trees, and then they spend their life thinking that they're stupid.
You know, I support Bagoha when he said, I mean, undue pressure from parents to make their children perform so well, I think is very stupid. I keep telling you guys, I wasn't the best person in academics, you know.
And here you are, a shining star.
Absolutely. We should remind the C's and the D's.
Yes.
We should remind them that the C's, you know, C's and the D's actually sometimes end up outperforming the A's and the B's in life.
They will give them jobs in future.
They're the ones who create the jobs for the A's and the B's.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
So if you got 200 marks, you're talented, you're worthy, and you succeed.
It's not over.
It's not over.
Yeah. So on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Yes.
We have a 3-part criteria for this as well. Is the cartoon humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
Yes.
What do we have in the Standard?
Gado has gone East African. And here he has caricature of himself, John Pombe Magufuli. And he's racing with his famous smile. He has put out a smile and he's running. He's just gotten past the finishing line. And behind him is the opposition. Yes. And they are doing a sack race. And next to them, around them, are soldiers who have put everyone on gunpoint. There's a media, they're being held hostage.
They're even gagging, blindfolding observers. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think Gado is trying to tell us that this election is unfair because John Pombe Magufuli has probably been stifling opposition. And in my view, I think he's done the right thing. Because recently, us guys were in Tanzania. Yes. And what we saw there is fantastic. The man is progress. He's building the nation and systems are working like clockwork. You know, and this what he's actually done is he's getting mediocrity out of the way. Because African countries largely, you travel around, the mediocrity you see is on another level.
It's on another level. The African continent needs a healthy dose of dictatorship.
Absolutely. And if they could give this guy 3 or 4 more terms, Tanzania would be something else.
Yeah, that's the thing. 3 or 4 more or 8 more. That's the thing. So what you're saying is that it's good that he's doing this because whoever comes in next will then reverse the gains that he has so far made in such a short period of time.
Absolutely.
Democracy is overrated.
Absolutely. And we need to magnifies, yes, that one, this country, because of mediocrity all around.
So what do you think about democracy is overrated until you're detained without trial? Then you won't say that.
What do we think about that cartoon?
I think it's good.
Let's park that.
It's a good and thoughtful cartoon.
So what do we have in The Nation?
In The Nation, we have a very good caricature of Amos Wako. It looks just like him, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And he's trying to get through the Golden Gates of America, which are shaped like the flag itself. It's the bars represent the stripes, and then the stars are there on the side.
Yes.
And he's carrying a suitcase written, I love New York. He's probably wanting to go on holiday to enjoy the money that he's allegedly stolen. And it says, and he's saying, Chapter 6 of our Constitution is very porous. Why not yours? And there's a big 6 there on the side.
It's quite satirical. Actually, I'm enjoying the satire here. I love New York briefcase and the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Also because he played, a key role in drafting our Constitution.
Yes.
And the irony that he's now the one being alleged to have been involved in corruption.
I feel for him.
And being barred.
Anyway,
you feel bad for somebody who's not going to America.
No, but I mean for all the undue embarrassment.
That he's being put through.
Let's consider the Star.
On the Star, we have Wanjiku here in the middle of two gentlemen.
Yes.
One of them is
Matiang'i.
Mr. Matiang'i, and the other one is Mr. Magoha, two very effective ministers.
Yes.
And she's saying, you two gentlemen should consider working for the IEBC. And you can see Magoha there is holding a paper written instant results. This is, of course, alluding to the KCP results that were released instantaneously. Kids didn't have to go through Christmas with bated breath. And I like this cartoon for the reason that, for once, Wanjiku is saying something that is not a lamentation.
Fantastic.
She's
absolutely.
Not complaining and actually giving her opinion and a solution.
Yes.
And it's actually congratulating both the cabinet secretaries for a job well done. And what Ozone could also have added are the census results, which also came out in record time.
In record time.
So, brilliant.
But one thing Ozone has not done, guys, he has not given credit to the use of Wanjiku as a caricature, because the person who normally does this is Gado.
Oh, she belongs to Gado.
She belongs to Gado.
So I think we give it to Ozone.
Absolutely.
I think so too. This is optimism. It's a very good cartoon.
Absolutely. And so, what is our final thought?
Now, our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled Incognito, The Secret Lives of the Brain, by a man called David Eagleman.
So David Eagleman is an American neuroscientist, and he wrote this book back in 2011. Pretty good book. And he says, the secret lives of the brain, referring to the subconscious part of the brain that we don't think about, but that actually works 90% of the time in our day-to-day lives. One of the main arguments that he makes in this book is that justice systems should not use the concept of blameworthiness to punish an offender. And he makes reference to the American system, which uses motivation or motive as a part of its criteria for punishment. For instance, if somebody kills somebody because they wanted to steal their money, they'll be punished differently from somebody who has killed someone because they were sleepwalking or they were not very conscious at that time. So Eagleman proposes that the actions of both such people will be better understood through neuroscience, and that assigning punishment based on blame is not an effective way to prevent a person from committing the crime again in future. So what he says that instead, punishment should be based on a person's ability to be rehabilitated through behavioral or medical treatment according to the neurological reasons for their actions. Which government has money to carry out psychological tests on convicts? And I think this argument is actually a scientific version of something we've discussed on this table, the restorative order, instead of the retributive or the very punitive system. And Eagleman bases his argument on two premises. The first is that the brain is made up of two subsystems. There's system 1, which is automatic and it's subconscious, and then there's system 2, which is conscious and analytical. And he says that it is system 1, the subconscious, that drives most of our actions. Many things that we do are actually subconsciously informed by history or things that we have done before, habit, and many other factors. And the second premise is that biology is king. Our perception perceptions and behaviors are controlled by hidden neurobiological factors. So we're actually predisposed to or genetically wired to do something. So there are explanations behind our actions that we ourselves as the actors do not realize or take into account.
Absolutely.
But besides the argument of applying neuroscientific methods or knowledge in judiciary system, the book is also, I think, mainly about being aware of the power of the subconscious. And I think this is what informs the name of the book, Incognito, the secret lives of the brain. And he says that having an understanding of how the brain works and realizing the power of the brain could help us to conquer it.
Absolutely.
And he actually gives one scientific example called developing cognitive reserves. He says by challenging your brain and by undertaking mental or staying mentally active all the time, you can develop multiple pathways in your brains for doing the same actions. And the evidence behind this is that there's some people who would get Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's is a degenerative mental illness that causes memory loss. Or loss of function or of other functions that are relayed by your brain.
Absolutely.
And he says some people can suffer from Alzheimer's without them losing their memory because they have been mentally active or realized that they are predisposed to having Alzheimer's and then started working their brain and challenging and doing challenging exercises. So when they develop this multiple pathways to do the same thing, when Alzheimer's ravages one side of the brain, they can still be able to undertake normal functions before they got the disease.
Absolutely.
So it's a it's a very interesting book that reminds us as humans that we are more powerful than we think because of our brains.
Absolutely. My takeaway from this book is he has this chapter and he calls it The Brain is a Team of Rivals. And these rivals are in the brain, and their work is sometimes to express or to suppress your personality. But what actually induces that sometimes more than often is alcohol. So he gives an example of Mel Gibson. So one evening, Mel Gibson,
famous American actor.
The famous actor, he's driving on the road and a cop stops him and he pulls him over and he says, "Oh, you're doing twice the speed limit." But as he's talking to him, he sees a bottle of tequila on the other side of the seat, and the cop decides to apply, what do you call this?
A breathalyzer.
A breathalyzer test. And when he does a breathalyzer test, he sees that this guy had actually drunk twice than the legal required limit. But as he's doing this, Mel Gibson goes into a rant, and he asks, he says, "Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world." And then he turns and he asks the cops, "Are you a Jew?" And the cop all this time is actually recording all these things.
Now, the body cam,
with the body cam, because they normally have them attached. And a couple 15 hours later, I don't know, the police released this footage to the media, and it went viral. Now, he was so embarrassed, he was forced to come and apologize. And I want to read the apology just so that we can get context of this. He says, "After drinking alcohol on Thursday night, I did a number of things that were wrong and for which I am ashamed of. I disgraced myself and my family with my behavior, and for that I am truly sorry. I want to apologize," and he did this much later. He says, "I want to apologize specifically to everyone in the Jewish community for the vitriolic and harmful words that I said to a law enforcement officer the night I was arrested for a DUI charge."
So he's front-loaded the alcohol.
He's front-loaded the alcohol.
And ended it also with
an
driving
apology.
under the influence.
Yes, absolutely. So he's actually blaming the alcohol for his not just behaving badly, but going on an anti-Semitic rant. But now the question pundits and psychologists were asking themselves, this man did not, the thought of attacking Jews was already there. It is not, whether or not he took alcohol, the thought itself was latent. All right? And if he attacked Jews, it meant he may have had some thoughts about Jews, and he could have said other things, not even just about Jews, probably even other races. So here it's a complexity of multiplicity of how the brain normally tries to shut itself or to shut your personality, just in case you might say anything. And by the way, take note of this. He was actually with a Jewish guy just before he got caught. they were actually chilling together. Now, if now he's just left and he's saying bad things about those Jews, it meant he's always had these views, but he just needed alcohol to spur him.
They say in vino veritas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the truth comes out when you've had a little
wine.
Motivation.
So Mel Gibson is a racist.
He's a racist.
goodness. I didn't know that. Well, one thing that stood out for me, I mean, once again, it's just the distinction between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. But also how powerful the subconscious is over the conscious.
Yes.
And in some parts of the book, he talks about how in the brain eventually how when you start learning a skill, when you start doing something that's difficult, it's the conscious mind that really applies itself. And what is actually happening at that moment is that the conscious mind is trying to download, to grasp all of this, and it's loading it into the subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
So that you can end up doing it, like a robot. You can end up doing it like a reflex. Right.
Absolutely.
And so what he's basically telling us is breaking down the way the brain
processes
works, particularly in the context of something that is called the 10,000 hour rule. Right? This was told to us by Malcolm Gladwell in the book Blink. And he says for you to be a master at a certain vocation, you need to constantly repeat that
task,
that motion over and over again.
Absolutely.
And he gives an example of players at Wimbledon, tennis players who are really the best of the best. And first of all, they make it look really easy. But for them to have reached that level, it took hours and hours, thousands of hours of training. And what that training was doing is downloading from the conscious to the subconscious. So that if a ball is coming at 50, 60 kilometers per hour towards you, you make so many calculations in a microsecond, so that you know the angle at which to hit the ball.
Absolutely.
You know if you hit the ball at that angle, it's going to land on the other side of the court at a particular spot. So you know the force. You do very many calculations
subconsciously.
So it's actually impossible in that amount of time. When the ball is coming at 90 kilometers per hour, to make such complex calculations using your present mind.
Using your present mind, using your conscious mind, absolutely impossible. And that is part of the genius of the brain then, the subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
And what it's able to do for us, because it enables us to make those kinds of calculations very quickly. And become experts and become very skilled in particular
something else that I got from this book that's been triggered by what you have just said is that he says that scientists have not been able to figure out what is called the concept of emergence about the brain. So the concept of emergence is usually what systems do together as separate parts that they can't do alone. For example, the cells in your muscles come together to display the emergent property of working together in order to produce the muscle's overall structure and movement. But that has not been able to be figured out about the brain. Like, what is it that comes together? How do the atoms, the neurons, come together in order to formulate a thought? How does it happen? In what period of time? And etc.
The brain is a phenomenal.
It's a phenomenal thing. My favorite quote from the book is, "The brain is not organized like a marketplace. It's organized like an assembly line."
Wow.
It's not
organized like an assembly line.
It's not organized like an assembly line. It's organized like a marketplace. Does it remind you of how Prof says that some people's brains are like spaghetti and others are like pizza? Compartmentalized, and others are just endless loops of of mess.
Wonderful book.
Something I'd also like to end with is somebody said that the most complex object in the whole universe, the brain, only uses 20 watts of power. It would take a nuclear power plant to energize a computer the size of a city block to mimic your brain, and your brain does it with just 20 watts
of power.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Very.
So today we had a winning headline from The Standard and a winning cartoon from Ozone of the Star.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also find us on your TV screens. We're on GoTV, Star Times, and Pang Free to Air. See you tomorrow.